Hey, folks, welcome back to Crypto Heartbeat. This is Matt, and I'm with my great friend, Tony. Tony, thanks for doing this, dude. I appreciate it.
Sure, happy to.
Okay, so for everybody knows, Tony has no idea about HEX, the Pulse chain, any of that. Now, he's got background and understanding of cryptocurrency. He's a very, very smart person. He's been in the nonprofit field like me for more years than we even want to admit to. Um, but I'm gonna share with Tony. Literally, this is his first exposure to Pulse and Hex and all that. And so, Tony, I want you to be, ask whatever questions come to mind. So, thank you for doing this.
I'll do it.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna walk you through a short presentation that I put together. And if you want to buy my soap and become part of my multi-level marketing, you can. I'm joking, of course. This is not that. All right. Can you see my screen there?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to talk. This is called Operation Double Up. And this is really a unique thing that's happening in the crypto world. If you're familiar with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you know that Ethereum right now is going through major growing pains, and the cost to do transactions is through the roof. So if you wanted to send $100 to you wanted to get into Hex, for example, or PulseChain, and I'll tell you about that today. It would cost you probably $100 to do $100 transaction. So it doesn't make any sense. And for a long time, Ethereum has been saying that they're going to have a 2.0 version, which makes things cheaper because they change the nature of it. Well, the Pulse chain is coming out, and it is taking Ethereum, the exact code and contracts of Ethereum, and forking it, making a copy, and changing its very core consensus model, which is now called proof of stake. And that is a consensus model that doesn't use all the electricity and everything of proof of work. Okay. So the Pulse chain, which has not launched yet, is probably the biggest opportunity I've seen in crypto since Ethereum started. Okay. So this is not like, hey, I want to share with you my dog coin. This is a really, really big deal, which will change the very nature of, I think, the blockchain. And it's probably the best. It's the best opportunity I've ever seen. So PulseChain is an Ethereum fork, lower gas fees, so pennies instead of hundreds of dollars, changes consensus to proof of stake. It is also non-inflationary, so it doesn't grow, and it is fee burning. So 25% of all the gas fees, which are the transaction fees, are burned, and that reduces the supply. And then, of course, faster transactions. So basically taking a copy of Ethereum and making it better and faster and cheaper. Okay. That's what the Pulse chain is. The coin that is the equivalent of Ether on the Ethereum network is called Pulse on the Pulse chain. And its code is PLS. And so Pulse chain is this new chain. The whole strategy I'm going to share with you is getting in so that you get the biggest deal. And that is why this is such a big deal. People have forked Ethereum before, but PulseChain is the first new blockchain to carry over the system state, which is all ERC20 coins. So every single coin that was built on Ethereum, plus every single contract, every single NFT is on the Pulse chain from day one. And no one has ever done this before. And this is probably the biggest experiment in blockchain history, is to say, we're not only copying over and changing the paradigm of Ethereum, we're going to actually bring over all the contracts. And so this creates a tremendous opportunity, which means that HEX, which I'm going to tell you about, which is on the Ethereum network, is copied over to the Pulse chain. So that means you have twice as much. Okay, that's what's called doubling up. So basically, if you get in before Pulse chain launches, anything you buy of HEX will be copied over, and you have basically double the value. Okay. So all of that would be copied over. And that's really the strategy I'm going to share with you today. So if you own any ERC20 coin, so even if you own Shiba Inu, Chainlink, there's a bunch of, there's 10,000 or more different coins that you could hold that will get a copy on the Pulse chain. All right. So this is called Operation Double Up. So at the end of the day, as soon as liquidity is provided on the PulseChain, what's called price discovery will begin. And all of these coins and contracts, as soon as there's liquidity provided, are going to establish a price. And so if the price pairs, so if HEX price and the Pulse version of HEX price is the same, the money that you put into HEX will be doubled. And that could happen in minutes, hours, or days. Okay, so that's one thing, is just doubling up. The other piece of this is really the opportunity, which is to buy and hold any ERC20. So if you have a favorite coin that you like that's not HEX, fine. Just holding it in your MetaMask wallet. And it has to be a non-custodial wallet. It cannot be at Coinbase, because Coinbase actually owns your coins. You don't. You just have a username and password. And we're going to walk through what that looks like and how to get your stuff into a secure, non-custodial crypto wallet. So basically what I'm suggesting to you, Tony, is if you want to take advantage of this, the key right now is just get some ERC20. My suggestion is HEX on the Ethereum blockchain. Its price is about 19 to 20 cents right now. And whatever you want to do. I don't give financial advice from that perspective. I just say, hey, here's an opportunity I'm taking advantage of. And, there's not very many opportunities where your money doubles immediately, but then has the ability to grow. And that will be what I share with you on HEX. But this is 2 chains. He found out that HEX was on 2 chains, which is a pretty good meme. Okay, and then there's the secondary piece. Once PulseChain launches, PLS, which is the Ethereum coin, typically previous crypto project launches with significant airdrop coin experience a significant drop in value. So there are some people who got into the sacrifice phase that happened a while ago, and they're going to see value pretty much from day one. And some of those people are going to dump their coins. And so they will sell and there will be a dip. And this is very common. If you look at the origins of Ethereum, pretty much any coin as it hits the market, or any coin that hits the market, there are people who do sell. And so the dip usually is around 85% of value off of the high. And so that's what I am looking at as the greatest opportunity on the Pulse side, is that I will buy more PLS when it dips. And so that's just something you watch. But I do not suggest or recommend anyone trade. This is just your entry point into Pulse if you decided you wanted to. The really cool thing about this is if you look at any of these projects that are new blockchains that are forked from Ethereum or anything else, if you and I were into Ethereum, close to day one, we'd be in under $10. And Ethereum's $4,500, $4,000 essentially. So there's really big opportunities being early just about in anything, okay? And so I'm going to share with you basically 5 key steps of what you would do, and then I'm going to answer questions and we'll talk about HEX. So how somebody would get into, really to onboard into crypto in general. These are the very basic things. Number 1 is set up a Coinbase account and connect your bank account. There is a KYC process that's required by law in the United States where you have to show your ID, the normal know your customer stuff. Mm-hmm. This is United States focused. There are a lot of different fiat on-ramps where you could get US dollars into a wallet that you could then trade or buy, buy crypto with. But this is the one, because we're in the United States and you're my friend, this is the simplest one, okay? So you set up a Coinbase account and then you connect your bank within Coinbase. That takes 2, 3, 4 days, okay? So it takes some time. The next thing to do is buy Ethereum, because Ethereum is what is required for gas to do transactions on the Ethereum network. From there, you would get a MetaMask wallet. Metamask.io has a plugin for Chrome. That's about the simplest. And a MetaMask wallet is a non-custodial wallet, which gives you a seed phrase, a number of 10 to 12 words that you have to keep secure. And if you don't keep them secure, somebody can basically steal your crypto. But this is the most common non-custodial wallet that exists on the planet. And it's a It's a fine recommendation, but there are many, many other options when it comes to non-custodial wallets. Okay. But you don't want to keep or hold, in my opinion, your Ethereum on Coinbase. So once you buy Ethereum, you would send it to your wallet address, your public wallet address in MetaMask. That takes minutes. And once your Ethereum is in your MetaMask wallet, you can go to a lot of different places. ETHEX.com is really simple, but it's just a copy of Uniswap, which is a place that you can just swap Ethereum for HEX. And that's the simplest thing you could possibly do, those basic 5 steps. Now, I've created like 3,000 questions in your mind because of all of this. So I wanted to get this out, and then I'm going to stop and answer questions, because for everybody that's watching this, Tony doesn't know a thing about HEX and PulseChain that I'm aware of, because I haven't shared it with him. And then once you have your HEX, that 6th step really isn't a step. It's just wait for the PulseChain mainnet launch, which could be Christmas or beginning of the new year. So we're really close to a launch. That's it, Tony. What questions do you have?
Just some basic things on what you just covered. When you were talking about fee burning, what does that mean?
Okay. So, and I'm going to stop my sharing. Okay. So let's just keep it super simple. There are coins that are inflationary, but by design. Okay. So HEX is inflationary. There's a 3.69% inflation rate. The reason it has inflation is because when you stake it, like a certificate of deposit, where you say, I'm going to lock up my money for 1 year at the bank, and they're going to give you interest on that certificate of deposit. That's how you get your yield, is by the inflation being given to all those who stake or lock up their coins. Fee burning is a good thing because scarcity is what drives price. And so what happens is, as the circulating supply gets reduced, as transactions are done, 25% of all transaction fees, and that's the gas fee, the cost to do the transaction, is burned. So those go away, they're out of existence, and they're destroyed. And so they're not in circulation anymore. So the long-term, the whole strategy around a non-inflationary token that burns coins is that the circulating supply continues to drop. And we know that scarcity increases value when it's coupled with demand. And so that's the basis of why that's a good thing in the case of Pulse.
Okay. And then when you were, go back to the last slide that we were just looking at.
All right, you got it.
When you were talking about the MetaMask account.
Yep.
And all the information that you have to maintain to make sure that they know it's you. Is that something that you could keep track of in a standard password manager if you use one?
So yes and no. And here's the big issue. We just saw a guy lose $50 million of HEX because he was hacked at a public place. Somebody did a SIM phone swap on his phone. He did all of his transactions on his phone, and he had $50 million in HEX that got stolen. And so let me kind of explain how it works. So MetaMask on your local machine will have a password just for your local machine to get into MetaMask. But let's say you forgot about your crypto, and years later you went into a random computer that didn't have MetaMask, you downloaded it, it would require your seed phrase. So there's a lot of different strategies to keep your seed phrase protected, but you're going to get that when you open up that MetaMask wallet. And that's that's the key to your crypto wallet. There are people who do all kinds of elaborate things on how they obscure those words and put them in a safe. And, I think if you don't have any money there, it's not as big of an issue unless you got 50 million there. And right. So I think the big thing to contrast these two things, custodial and non-custodial, really means that if you're at Coinbase, which is an exchange, they're the ones that have the seed phrase of your quote unquote wallet, and you just have a username and password. So technically, if they wanted to, they could not give you your coins, or they could steal your coins. Now, they have zero incentive to do that because they're making billions of dollars a quarter. However, it's still not your coin. So they say not your keys, not your coins. And so MetaMask is literally you and those seed phrases. And so a lot of people will print them out and do all kinds of elaborate things to keep them safe, not having them on digital devices, not having that seed phrase anywhere that anyone can find it except you and your spouse or someone you know. And so it's probably one of the most important, documents when it comes to wallets. And you can have a lot of different wallets. But yes, that's the key here is your seed phrase is what gets you in from any device. And that's what gets you to your coins. When you have it locally on your machine like this, you'll have a username and password that you can log in with, provided it's the device that you set up your MetaMask with.
Got it. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, so I'm going to just jump out to these websites. So there's some key things you're going to want to know. Okay, so let's just go here to PulseChain. So PulseChain, it's pulsechain.com. So if you want to do additional research, I'd encourage you to do that because this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And this is really just to say, hey, I want to expose you to this so you know where to go to do your research. This is a breakdown of basically everything about PulseChain. And you can learn testimonials, all sorts of things, and read up on it. This is the new Ethereum fork, okay? Hex.com is the token that is an ERC20 token that is what's called a time deposit or certificate of deposit on the blockchain. And this is the first CD on the blockchain. And what makes it so powerful is that the inflationary rate, it's basically acting like a bank and the Federal Reserve in one contract. And so when you put, let's say you put $1,000 into HEX and you stake it, okay, not just holding it liquid, but you stake it, depending on how long you stake it, and you can stake it up to 15 years, there's bonuses for pushing that out, okay? And so essentially you can earn up to 40% interest a year, which is insanity. And so the way that generates it is through the inflation rate of the coin being distributed to the stakers, in addition to anyone who breaks their stakes early, just like at the bank. If you say you're going to keep your CD for a year and you take it out at 6 months, there's a penalty. Same exact thing for HEX as well. So really what HEX is, it's a token, but it's also a contract that enables you to earn interest by staking and locking up your tokens. So there are people all across the world, about 300,000 of them, who have gotten into HEX, and many of them have created what they call ladder stakes. And so because you've been in the nonprofit space and everything, if you could find a financial instrument that would have a 40% return, you can build staking ladders out and essentially, whatever, if you had enough money, basically you could live off the interest. And this is the best possible return that exists in crypto right now. And it's the first certificate of deposit. What people love about this is they don't have to trade. This is buying, setting, forgetting, and that's it. And so it's, it just reflects the existing, what shall I say, existing financial product of a CD. Okay. So those are two things, pulsechain.com and hex.com. I'd encourage you to do your research on those things. And if you want, let's go to, I'm going to go to Nomics. So nomics.com is where you can look at all sorts of coins and their value. And so as you can see here, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these are all ranked by market cap. Mm-hmm. If I scroll down to HEX is number 11. And you can see basically where it fits in. It's at 18.3 cents. You can look at its chart. HEX is going through a really interesting dip, but it's in the last year, it's up 4,139%. It's up about 1,000,000% since day one. Mm-hmm. And so if I look at I'll just give you this chart. So this is the total chart of HEX. It came out and it was way, fractions of a penny, and it just continued to grow and continued to grow. And it topped out at about 55 cents. And now we're in kind of this dip because this was a huge bubble. And so the design of HEX is growth. And we're in this phase right now of HEX that is, it's really interesting because it's pre-viral. There's not a lot of holders of it. And there's a lot, once you start learning more about the community and the founder and everything, you'll realize that this is, it's not popular within the traditional Bitcoin, what they call Bitcoin maxi group, right? They're not big fans of HEX. And I think there's some good reasons for it. But as a financial instrument, I think it's the best thing I've ever seen. Now, the cool thing about this strategy I'm sharing with you is really just buying HEX. You don't have to stake it. You can do whatever you want with it, but you're going to get a copy. So in a way, and I don't advocate this, but this is essentially what happens is, if I went to the casino and I put $1,000 down and I won my first hand, and then I put that money in my pocket, I'm playing with house money. Mm-hmm. And so the PulseChain is that unique. So if I were to put $1,000 down and it copies over into the PulseChain, I could literally sell my HEX, put my $1,000 back in my pocket, and have $1,000 on this new chain because I got a copy. And so that, I don't recommend that, but I do think that that's pretty crazy that is happening here in the next 60 days.
So a couple of questions. One, if you did want to stake HEX, you would not want to do that until it was copied over to PulseChain, right?
That's a great question. No, all stakes are also copied. So,
they are. Okay.
Yeah, you could buy it, stake it, and just hold it, and you're going to have the exact copy of the stake. It's the exact same code over on PulseChain, and so no, there's no difference. You're welcome to do that, but you get basically you double that up. There are people who have stakes every month for the next 15 years. I interviewed a guy named Balliot Brand who's got a YouTube channel. He's 25-year-old, kid that basically got into HEX at the beginning. And so his, $100 turned into $1 million and his $1,000 turned into $10 million. He's retired, by the way. He's 25. It's crazy. It's almost unbelievable when I share it. It feels like I'm sharing something that's like from Mars, but I've been involved in it long enough and realized the power of it that, it's a change of the very dynamics, and we're early in this. And so there are these opportunities, which my kids won't have these same opportunities because it'll all work itself out of the system by then. But what other questions?
Well, so PulseChain is choosing to double it up. That's basically their offer, right?
Yeah. So this is a strategy by the founder, Richard Hart, and his team to essentially do an end run around Ethereum 2.0. Ethereum 2.0 has been promised for years, and they haven't been able to do it. And so Richard said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big. And the idea of doing this is to say, let's say you and I had a crypto project that was doing pretty good, and it's on Ethereum, but everybody complains about the fact that they can't buy our product, they can't use our coin because it costs them $100 every time they do a transaction. And so they don't do the transactions. And here comes this new chain that's an identical copy, but it carries our contract over with it. We may decide that we want to basically adopt the new chain and use it because it's cheaper, faster, better, and it's better for our business, if you will, our coin and token. And so it's just basic innovation. But I think what's genius about it is when you copy the system state, which no one has ever done, it creates some crazy marketing opportunities because everybody that's got a project is going to have to do something with their copy, and it forces people to pay attention to it. And that's why I think Pulse has a really big opportunity, because it's the utility of it is it's the gas fee on the PulseChain. It's the Ethereum. And that's why I like Ethereum so much already, is because it actually has a purpose. It is the transaction fee coin. And so I look at this from my perspective and I say, hey, I love HEX because it's a certificate of deposit. I can't get 40% anywhere else. And I like Pulse because it's the Ethereum 2.0. That's why I'm interested in it. And honestly, that's why I wanted to tell you about it, because this is just a unique time.
All right. Well, good. That's great information. Anything else that we need to walk through, or does that cover it?
No, I think that covers it. I would just say do your own research. Obviously, for anyone that's watching this, this is this is for educational purposes, not for anything else. And so I don't give financial advice. I just want you to see, and hear from a guy who's never heard about it before, what kind of questions he's got. Is there anything else that comes to mind, Tony, that would be helpful for folks?
No, that's a great background. I appreciate you walking me through it.
You bet. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Matt.